Nick Bahe podcast brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors, Pella of Omaha and Lincoln. They want every homeowner to go to a bowl game. No, that's not true. They want them to have the best quality windows and doors possible. They're willing to bet $100 on it. Call the Omaha or Lincoln showroom. Go to PellaOmaha.com. Find out how you can get $100 and new windows and doors starting $122 a month. And we're brought to you by the Brickway Cut Spike Lucky Bucket family. You weren't drinking your sorrows with some Cut Spike or Brickway bourbon yesterday. You were drinking in celebratory fashion. But whether you're going to a bowl game or you're losing or whatever, Brickway Cut Spike Lucky Bucket, they got you covered. Great beers, great brewery, great distillery. Check them out in Omaha. They're in the Omaha La Vista area, 4 blocks south, 120th and Giles. And we're brought to you by Peerless Energy Systems, the Solaire, leading American manufacturer of air compressors. And for any and all air compressor needs, go to peerlessenergy.com. That's peerlessenergy.com. That is Bo Ruud. I am Nick Bahe, and Nebraska beats Wisconsin 44-25. Nebraska improves to 6-5. It is incredible how much the conversation, the narrative, the vibe, the feel of everything changes after that win, because things were getting a little uncomfortable here for the last month.
Oh yeah. I mean, we lost 4 straight.
Yes.
And it feels like an eternity. Like it feels like a long time since we've had a win. That's part of, like, we have a winning record this season now,
right?
But it felt like, I mean, it was basically 2 months without.
That's where I was trying to go to the Rutgers. Just looking at the Rutgers date.
First week of October.
Like, yeah, was it
maybe
October 14th? Maybe. I thought I would have it on the. I think it was the 4th. So you're looking at like 2 full months of not tasting a win.
Brutal, just brutal.
But for me, it's just the anger amongst the fans, the frustration amongst the fans, and most importantly, the doubt.
Yeah.
The doubt. All those things were rising. And like I said a few weeks ago, once that snowball of those things, the anger with the situation, the frustration, the doubt of the coach, once that snowball starts to roll, it's typically tough to stop. But at least for the moment with this win, it feels like it stops it. And we all we've been wondering this for such a long time. What would it feel like? Like, we all sit there and go, man, would you really be that excited to get 6 wins? Would you really be that excited to go to a bowl game? I think the answer is absolutely yes.
Yeah.
Like, you saw what the emotions were like on the field after the game. You know how you felt, and you being the listener, now that doesn't it kind of feel like everybody can kind of just go, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not quite the moon landing, but it's one small step for Ruud, one giant leap for Husker Nation.
That's
right?
Exactly.
It's a small thing. Our perception is huge. So it's the giant leap for Husker Nation. We're back to the bowl game.
Yes.
And I don't know why that's so important. It just is. It feels like the monkey off the back for that thing, So, like, gosh, it does feel good.
You were in the graphic of the only power conference team over the last 8 years to not to go to a bowl. Everybody feels that. So the monkey's off the back. And listen, I mean, we were talking yesterday. So we all went down, had a few drinks, and then a lot of us went to the game. You went to the game. I did. Our buddy Chris Goldie, our buddy Willie did, and I do think our buddy Willie brought it up, and he kind of brought up the whole point of, like, hey, I don't think because we're in it, we're immersed in it.
Yeah.
We all don't realize how bad Nebraska's been for the last 8 years or so. And when he was talking bad, it's more from like the perception standpoint of, like, you're a college football fan that's living in South Carolina. All you see with Nebraska is big stage blowouts, and they don't go to bowl games.
Yeah.
So to hell with, like, actually almost beat Ohio State and almost beat Michigan. And they don't know or care about that. They just know you get your ass kicked in big stages and you don't go to a bowl game. So I say all that to say, like, it's an important step to be a team that is playing in a bowl game for perception and internally to feel like, yes, like there now feels like there's progress. The fans feel like there's tangible progress.
Yeah.
And the players now feel like, okay, like what we're doing, how we're doing things, like there's there you stepped on that scale, you're like, okay, this diet, I just lost 4 pounds. I know I need to lose 40, but it's you're headed in the right direction. And like Rule said afterwards, he's like, this will be the last time we ever celebrate 6 wins. And I think everybody likes that, but I also think people can understand, like, given the moment, you should celebrate this.
Absolutely celebrate it. It's important to celebrate it and not take anything for granted. We've learned that. I hope we've learned that the hard way, right?
Yes.
So there's this weird kind of paradox with Nebraska right now. We've got a lot of issues that may be like, we've been talking about, we need some players in certain spots to really be great. We need some extra players, right? But a big chunk of maybe what's going on here is between our ears. And we have to cross these psychological gaps, whatever they are. I feel like this is one of those. We had to cross that gap, get to the other side of, why can't we get to a bowl game? Why can't we win a close game, right? Those are the battles we're fighting that are more in between our ears than just, we don't got guys physically that can do it, right? Because if you can hang in a game with Ohio State and the Michigans,
right?
If you can physically hang in there, you're close physically.
Yes. But
psychologically, we've been too far away. And this is a moment where we've jumped a psychological gap.
That's a great point. And I mean, even just there's clearly, you can say there clearly was something there to lose, to be sitting at 5 wins. You know, Frost was sitting at 5 wins a couple of times, couldn't win. Last year, you lose 4 in a row. You're at 5. You were at 5-3 on October 28th, and you lose 4 in a row. You were at 5-1 this year. You lose 4 in a row. Like, so you're good enough to get to 5 wins. You're good enough to push some of these top teams to the brink.
Yeah.
But yet, what is it that allowed you to get over that hump? And I'm with you. I think it was, for as much as, yes, like 2 things can be true at once. Nebraska needs more elite players, but to just get to 6 wins, I think it was more mental than anything else. So, I mean, you get the monkey off the back, you in the 8-year bowl drought, you're going to a bowl game. You now can, like, actually, like this morning I was like, okay, like, you know, you're looking, you're like, oh my God, wouldn't it be fun to go to Nashville and play LSU? Or wouldn't it be fun to go to Phoenix and play some Big 12 team or something? Like, you know, you're like, oh, what if you play Oklahoma again somewhere? Like, all of a sudden you're like, this is exciting.
It is. It's progress. It is the smallest little bit of progress that Husker fans have just been dying for. Just give us anything, right? And this is anything. This is something. It's a chance to go to a bowl game, to develop more. It shows a steady slope climb upward.
Yeah,
that's all we wanted.
And it does kind of feel good to do it to a team. For as much as Iowa's become the rival, it feels like Wisconsin's been the monster under the bed.
Yeah.
Does it not? Like,
because they have took on our attitude more than we have. We've almost felt like in the last decade, right? Like, I mean, Barry Alvarez came from Nebraska and said, let's try to be Nebraska.
Right. Took the blueprint.
And they did it better than us.
Yes.
Over the last 15 years.
And so they had beat you 10 straight times. 10 that really, think about that. 10 straight. You had
owned us.
You had won 1 time, and it was in a September game in 2012.
Andy Janovich had
a long run. Yeah, it was a close game. Other than that, 10 straight wins. And then some of them were either like gut-wrenching losses, or they were Melvin Gordon running for 400 yards. You know,
it was either an embarrassment or a gut. Like, there was no in between.
No. To do it, to have the bowl drought and all this stuff end against the monster under your bed, or whatever. Whatever analogy you want to put on it.
Yeah.
It makes it feel extra good. Yeah, it makes it feel extra good.
Way better than if, like, okay, we beat UCLA last week. Okay, whatever. Like,
or you beat Maryland, teams, or it doesn't feel as good.
If it's Wisconsin or Iowa, it matters more. We've kind of mentioned that last week. Is we judge ourselves against them more than those two teams more than any other.
Mm-hmm.
Wisconsin and Iowa are our counterparts, I think.
Agree.
In so many different ways. As much as we'd like that to be Ohio State and Michigan, we're not there right now. But we always felt like, well, we should be right there with Wisconsin and Iowa or better somewhere, and we've always fallen short.
Agree.
For the last decade. So to me, this is like, God, it's just something for us to be like, yeah, that's right. We're back to where we need to be.
And so that's kind of the intangible conversation around this game. Let's get into the tangible, what we actually saw on the field.
Yep.
Okay. And the lion's share of this conversation has to be centered around Dana Holgorsen. Because holy crap, what this guy has done in just 3 weeks being in Lincoln, and really basically probably 2 weeks of being the guy that is like in charge and calling plays. They just scored 44 points against Wisconsin. Keep in mind, Wisconsin can say what you want. You can explain it away, whatever. Wisconsin just held Oregon, the only undefeated team in the country. Yeah. Oregon. They just held Oregon to 16 points a week ago. Nebraska scored 44 points. It's the most points scored in the rule era at Nebraska, 44. The most yards in, for sure, this year, maybe the whole, I'm pretty sure it's the whole rule era as well, 478 yards. I guess we'll start with, I had this thought on it. I think they're always, yes, Satterfield aside, and he became the focal point of the blame, which probably deservedly so. But there always was something about this offense struggling to the degree that it was struggling that just didn't make a ton of sense. You sit there and you go, okay, Dylan Raiola is really talented. For as much as you can say he's regressed and maybe had some issues, like undeniably a talented player. Yep. Okay. You have a veteran, experienced offensive line that is far from, the international house of pancakes, but they're like a lot of starts, a lot of experience. Yep. You have a running back room. Again, while it's not full of Amir Abdullah and Rex Burkheads, you have like 3 to 4 serviceable, solid players. Yep. A couple of good tight ends. The trio of wide receivers of Banks, Barney, and Nair seemed like okay, right?
Yeah.
Yet you watch these games and they couldn't score. They were terrible. They'd get in the red zone and throw up on themselves. And there was always something about it that just didn't quite make sense. It made sense last year watching that offense struggle. You're like, okay, you're on all your skill guys are hurt. Heinrich Haarberg can't really throw. Like, you get it, It just didn't make much sense. So I guess in some ways, like I'm sitting there, I'm like, this is incredible, but I'm also like, I don't know. I also remember the first half of the Colorado game and points of the Illinois game. And like I've seen, and you see it on paper, you go,
Nick, we would flash. We'd have flashes and drives.
Yes.
We'd have a great drive and then we'd have 5 bad drives.
Right.
So I think I know what you're getting at. I think it's something of this. For whatever reason, Holgorsen seems to just keep the ball in play. Like he doesn't take us out of drives. He always keeps the ball like,
right.
Getting a couple, give it to this guy, let him make a move. There's way less just like strikeouts. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Something about his offense, we don't make as many mistakes, and he just keeps the ball moving or something. Like it's this weird confidence he gives the team by going very simple, and they execute it better. So something along those lines of, I saw the flashes with Satterfield, but Holgorsen's just consistent. We're just way more consistent with whatever he's doing and calling. It just was crisper. We didn't make near as many mistakes, and we never got behind the sticks like we always seemed would with Satterfield. Like we'd have these big, like, we always joked about the Fedoni, like we'd lose 3 to Fedoni going inside. Right. Like with Holgorsen, like we just, every first down, it felt like we're getting 3 to 4 yards. Like we stayed on a schedule so much better this game, especially. Like if this is a sign of things to come, there's something along those lines where I have this like visual of Nick Bob playing ping pong. The guy never hit a winner in his life, but he never didn't get the ball back in play.
That was my whole thing.
You kept it in play.
I kept it in play, and I'd wait for you to get impatient and
make a mistake.
And that was my whole philosophy and game plan.
And I think Holgorsen is like that. He's like, okay, just keep throwing to the running back, and no, missed a tackle. There's a first down. Like,
right.
He's not like, here's the trick play, deep shot down the field, and he's scoring on, like, they're just moving the ball up the field, and they're not taking losses. They're not making the big mistake on offense either. So, like, there is something about that air raid. He's proved it over decades. It gets yards and it gets points. Now, we're going to have lots of debates over the offseason about what's our identity.
Right. Where's it truly going to go?
What are we going to be? Because how does that play into our offense, our defense? Usually when you score a lot of points, get a lot of yards, you usually give up more points and more yards. But, like, we need to score points. So we can talk about identity in the offseason.
In the meantime,
points are important. Points lead to wins at this point. To get over being an average team, we just crossed over just barely better than average now. That's where we're at now. Matt Rule needed to make a big change and bring in this guy to shake it up to win now. That's what he did.
Yes, it is remarkable. I think it's a great, you put it perfectly. There's just something, there are not a lot of strikeouts. All those kinds of analogies are perfectly put. But it is interesting how in the midst of that, every individual player has gone from here to here. Like Dylan Raiola, all of a sudden, that's the best he's looked in 2 months. Yeah. 28 of 38, 293 yards and a touchdown. Emmett Johnson, all of a sudden, looks great.
He looks like a Big Ten player.
Yes. Yeah, great. So maybe but he looked really good yesterday.
He had 100 and some yards on the ground and 85 receiving.
Yes.
Like it was almost a 200-yard night.
He had 113 on the ground and 85.
So almost 200 yards.
Yes.
So he's a 200-yard performance, right? Like, we haven't seen that in years and years.
He's making guys miss.
Yes.
But then there were bigger holes. Like the O-line seemed to block better. I'm trying to it's really.
But the running backs knew where to go.
Do you think it's that? Yeah.
He made the comment out even against USC. Like, it's not a coincidence to me that those guys were hitting the holes and finding them. I think that he is simplifying and being really direct, making sure people understand where these things are going to be or where they could pop. And here's your job, and you got to do it.
Right.
I think we have too much of this, too many guys that when they get under the lights, they forget what they're taught to do, and they make these little mistakes over and over and over that it felt like we didn't make them last night. We just were hitting holes. We were doing what we were supposed to do, and that's what it looks like.
Right. I also wonder sometimes with the running backs that they were and I get why this had to be a talking point. I bet over the offseason it was just don't fumble, don't fumble, don't fumble, don't fumble, don't fumble, don't. So when your prevailing thought, you were a running back, you would get, like, if your prevailing thought when you get the ball is don't fumble, you're probably not gonna.
It's hard to think two thoughts at once.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to make guys miss. It's hard to be patient for a hole. Like, sometimes it seemed like they were kind of between guys doing the whole, I don't know who would be because Dan Alexander wouldn't quite like this. Like those guys that would just like missile into the backs of their offensive linemen.
Yeah. Or
guys that couldn't quite make a guy miss. And it just seemed like I don't know, Emmett, that's the most elusive a running back has looked.
He broke tackles.
He made guys miss. He broke tackles, but it's just there seemed like there was more room to run too.
Yeah, the offensive line had a really nice day of, okay, they made some holes and we hit some holes, but they also they protected the QB, and they on your average run, we weren't allowing a bunch of penetration and negative plays. The 2 and 3 yard runs to me were the big wins of the day. It's like we didn't take the lost yardage. We didn't take this, we were always going forward. We were positive with everything.
Right.
So it all started to build on itself, being so consistent. Repeat, do something right every play, even if it's not huge. They add up. Don't make the big mistake.
So in total, they had 185 yards rushing, because Dowdell was he would come in and get to I'll take it from here.
I'll take the touchdown. Thank you.
So Dowdell,
great work, Emmett.
I'll take it from here. Emmett. Good job. And it was like, it was kind of funny. But they finished on 185 yards rushing. Banks looks a little rejuvenated. 4 catches, 52 yards, 1 touchdown. Barney probably had his best game as a Husker. 9 catches, 85 yards, 1 carry, 11 yards, 45-yard kickoff return that I thought really set the tone for the game. And he had a 9-yard punt return. There did seem like a couple of things. There was more 2 running back sets.
Yep.
What does that do? Like, why would that be benefit? Because it clearly was beneficial, but I don't know enough about football from a defensive standpoint to be like, oh God, they got Dowdell and Emmett out there.
I don't know. It doesn't really matter.
Okay, so is that maybe like a talking point that's too much?
No, I wouldn't.
You wouldn't go overboard with that? Remember the diamond formation?
I know it's like, why don't we do it every play? Well, we got 3 plays out of it, guys. I don't know if we should do it every play.
Oh man, the diamond formation became the answer to like everything.
Just run the diamond every play.
And we're gonna need a password for this account. Like, diamond formation works every time. Password strong, my friend. Or it's actually password incredibly weak in the state of Nebraska. There was a little bit more Harburg.
Yeah.
And I liked that's how they used him. I liked how they used him. Like, right times. Don't bring in fucking Harburg to throw the toss, throwback. Like, stop that, okay?
Want a little QB zone, that's fine.
Yes, come in the goal line too. I mean, the first touchdown of the game, he comes in, they run it, he hits the seam. It's a touchdown. So yeah, it just is a wow, what a difference coaching makes, I guess. And then also, you don't want to go overboard because, I mean, who knows what this next game will look like in the bowl game. But but ultimately they had to get one more win, and they got it. And I don't think they will, if they just keep status quo and don't bring in Holgorsen. I don't know, man.
I don't think we win it if we don't bring in Holgorsen.
I don't either. So you got to give credit where credit's due. And sure, it was such an out of left field thing to do in the middle of it's unprecedented to bring in an outsider that hadn't been with your program to call plays with 3 games left in the season is crazy, right? And so it was met with because it was so crazy, it was met with some like, what's going on here? But you gotta give credit where credit's due. Now it looks like maybe the move that in some ways this could be the turning point for a lot of things for the program here.
It bought Matt Rule a lot more time. It was because it's when you see something that's needed and you have the guts to do it,
right?
When it's not easy. And Matt Rule did it. He was willing to do it. It was unorthodox. He didn't care. It was about this moment. We have to go all in for this moment, which is right. And I said this after the hire. I think it's underrated the confidence it shows in Holgorsen from Holgorsen.
Yes.
Because this is a tough situation for him. It's not his system. It's the upside. It's hard to do anything really good in that short amount of time when it's not your system, not your players. And he didn't care. He was willing to just say, I can do this. I'm going to go for it. Like, that takes a lot of courage. I respect that. And he just proved how valuable and important he can be as a football coach.
Yeah. I mean, I think if anybody, like you walk out of there yesterday and Dana Holgorsen's stock went up, where,
yeah.
I mean,
he bet big on himself.
Yes.
Took a big risk.
You're sitting there as a fired football coach who's accomplished, but you never know. Once you get let go, all of a sudden you're put into a pool of people where it's, hiring someone that was just fired is not necessarily, especially if they're not. Dana Holgorsen's got a track record, but he's not a guy that's won, multiple championships or something like that. So your next move, when you get put into that category, all of a sudden you get put in timeout. You're in the fired area. Your next move is really important. You make the wrong move, and it makes you look bad. Now he's looking pretty good.
Well, I mean, I don't know that he even thought about it like this, but he could have thought it as like, oh, this offense is trending down. They're struggling. They can't score. Why would I want to go put my name on that for 3 weeks? And then if it just does what they've been doing,
people go,
which is what most coaches would do, is probably not change it much. Then you get your stock trickles down with it, right?
Yes.
And he took the risk of like, well, I don't care. So be it if it's the case, but I think I can do something. He took on the risk, and guess what? His stock is now going right through the roof.
Right.
Big risk, but big reward.
Big reward. And so, yeah, I mean, a large part of what I'll remember most about this game is just the Dana Holgorsen game. Just like the holy crap. What imagine someone. The idea that Nebraska was ever going to score 44 points in a game. Think how you felt after the UCLA game, or that if someone would have told you they were going to, there's going to be a game down the stretch where they're going to score 44 points. You would have thought, well, was there 5 defensive touchdowns in this game, or like what happened here?
Or if they told you, guess how many Wisconsin score in this game? 25. We'd be like, we lost.
Yes. Think if someone would have just told you before the game, Wisconsin is going to score 25 points. You'd have bet a lot of money. No way Nebraska gets there. It felt like 20 was like the magic number. Yeah. They can't get above 20, and they got 44 points. So I just it is amazing what he's done. It's almost you're rendered speechless with it to a certain degree. Crazy. Yeah. We'll jump into the defense and special teams, but first got to tell you about Pella Windows and Doors. They were back at my house. They helped with a 2 new windows. I love seeing Debbie and the crew and the installation experts. They're amazing, man. To watch them do their thing. First of all, they're obviously on time, the professional, the courteous. They leave the house cleaner than they found it, and I just absolutely cannot recommend the local team of Pella of Omaha and Lincoln anymore. They are great people. They do an incredible job. Call the Omaha or Lincoln showroom. Go to PellaOmaha.com to find out how you can get $100 and new windows and doors starting at $122 a month. That's PellaOmaha.com. And we're brought to you by the Brickway Cut Spike Lucky Bucket family. Again, great brewery, great distillery, bourbons, fantastic. Both the Brickway and the Cut Spike bourbon. I love the Oktoberfest. I love the Brickway Pilsners. They're absolutely terrific. It is just an amazing brewery and distillery, and they have great products. So make sure you check them out. They are located in the Omaha-La Vista area, 4 blocks south of 120th and Giles. It's the Brickway Cut Spike Lucky Bucket family. We appreciate them supporting the Nick Bob podcast. And we're brought to you by Peerless Energy Systems. Peerless is the Sullair authorized distributor for Nebraska and Iowa, and they go to market via local distributors to make some of the best air compressors and ancillary compressed air equipment in the industry. So if you are in utilities, transportation, refineries, food processing, maybe you own a body shop, car dealership, countertop makers, whatever, I could go on and on, but you get the point. For any and all air compressor needs, go to peerless.com. PeerlessEnergy.com. It's Peerless Energy Systems. Go to PeerlessEnergy.com. Shouts out to Peerless Energy Systems. Okay. Defensively, wasn't a great day. Also wasn't a terrible day either. Gave up 409 yards. I will say in this game, it was fun to watch. Was it kind of fun to watch a team do all of the things that you feel like you've seen Nebraska do for years? Like, it felt like the 2 missed field goals and then the fumble at the end of the second quarter changed the game. Mm-hmm. Because for as much as we're sitting here, confettis, we're popping champagne, talking about how great things went, there was I rewatched the game this morning, and midway through the second quarter, it wasn't like domination by any stretch of the imagination. But it truly felt like in that game, when they had the delay of game and the guy makes the field goal and then they back him up 5 and then he misses it. Now all of a sudden that guy's he's peed his pants a little bit. They're like, Johnson, you pee your pants. Knockouts. Water bottle. He tinkled just slightly.
It was the water bottle,
It was
Coach.
the water bottle, Coach. Oh, it's stripping on me. It's not that.
Johnson, that looks warm. It doesn't look like a cool, refreshing Gatorade. Johnson, that looks like warm to me.
Johnson, you pee your pants again. Damn it. But it felt, and then, so that he misses another field goal. They had penalties that they had the pass interference on Banks on the out and up.
Yeah.
At the end, so they had backbreaking penalties. They turned it over. They didn't take advantage of, because when Bonner fumbled, the whole stadium was like, oh.
That's it though. They were playing Nebraska.
Yes.
Nebraska bad football. That sort of like, just when you don't need it, that's when it is, right?
Yes.
They found a way to do that. And we were sitting there all watching them play our game going, and we're not doing it. Something's different.
If you would have just had a red team and a white team, or just let's do, you can't do shirts and skins in football, but you get the point. And you just watch that game, 50,000 foot view, you would have thought Wisconsin was Nebraska and Nebraska was Wisconsin. Wisconsin did it was all the greatest hits, on one disc collection. It's the greatest hits of Nebraska's mistakes. Get a great turnover.
I'll
inside
fumble
the 20
for
yard
you.
line.
I'll fumble for you.
About to get a big in the red zone defensively. Who can forget this hit song? Pass interference on the defense. It was all the greatest hits of the things that Nebraska's done forever. But I say all that to say, to circle it back to the defense, they gave up 409 yards. There was some leaky. I didn't think the safeties played great again.
No, we actually didn't tackle great.
No,
I watched a few of our linebackers and our safeties. We missed quite a few tackles that led to big, longer plays than they should have. And,
yes.
The offense, in a lot of ways, bailed the defense out because they kept driving and they kept scoring and they held the ball. Wisconsin got 25, and we really held the ball and controlled the game offensively quite a bit. So, yeah, there wasn't it wasn't a great day from the defense.
No, and no sacks again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what the time of possession ended up being. Nebraska won it 33-26, 33 minutes to 26 minutes. So, yeah, it's I'm not sure what to say about the defense. So that Ty Robinson made a couple of big plays. Again, I thought Ty played well. Ty has been really good.
Ty has been maybe the best player on the team this year. Consistently,
I think now, we're 11 games in, 1 game left. If you had to submit your vote for MVP, best player on the team, it'd be Ty Robinson.
Yeah, he's really raised his NFL stock too. So that, if there's ever a reason to prove coming back, will help you. Sue's number one,
right?
But Ty's probably the second guy I've seen.
It'll be interesting to see, because I don't know what he was. People were saying he was 7th round draft grade a year ago.
That's what he would have been last year, and this year he's probably like a 2nd or 3rd rounder.
That's a huge deal.
He's a big human being, is what he is too. He's just a monster.
I would love to see you. I don't know if you 6'6", 310. That's just huge, man.
But he doesn't look. He's not fat.
He's not like Gilbert Brown.
Big,
was it Gilbert Brown with the Packers?
He go to McDonald's and order
there was it's the Burger King. I swear had the Gilbert Brown Whopper, and it was like a triple Whopper. I think I tried it once at age 8, and I was just like, oh,
I'll be in the bathroom.
I can't go to school tomorrow. I can't go to 4th grade tomorrow.
Mom, I just ate a Gilbert Brown. It's going to be a long afternoon.
You would order a mega. You would call it a mega.
Nobody corrected me on that one.
You would call it a mega double cheeseburger, and they would think you said a bacon double cheeseburger, and you'd you had a stretch of 2 months. You're like, God, why did you give me bacon? I'm like, I think it's because you're saying a mega double cheeseburger and it's a bacon double cheeseburger.
I don't know. I got that one off.
But yeah, he's played well. I don't know what to really say. The defense. Do you have any other thoughts on the defense? I don't want to sit here.
Our secondary is they started the year playing. I felt like, three games in, I was like, secondary's looking nice. And I just feel like the secondary play has really slipped. And I don't know what that is. I mean, we've had some injuries.
Well, and there's a new coach. I don't know. Now, John Butler seems like on paper would be like overqual. I mean, he was the Bills secondary coach, but I do think in general on that side of the ball, it's a lot of returning guys. And I would say only 2 guys are better than they were a year ago. And that's Ty, John Bullock.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't.
Butler's better.
But yeah, Jamari Butler. So I'll throw Butler in there.
Better.
But everybody else is not just the same. If anything, they feel like they've taken a step back, which is odd to me.
And Tommy's hard to judge because Tommy was like firing on all cylinders, gets hurt, and then has just been like
a shell.
You just don't even know what to say about Tommy. And then he didn't even play last night.
No, they shut him down.
Rightfully so. He shouldn't have been. So it's been weird watching the secondary just try to find they have these moments where they can be pretty good, and then they just have these moments where you're like, they look like a very different team.
How about John Hull?
Good job.
Well, I was at the game with our buddy Chris and Goldie, and we were talking. Remember the Purdue game and the fallout after that game, where truthfully there were legitimate questions and conversations, and I bet I have to imagine we succumbed to it and threw it out there on some of our pods of like, is Nebraska ever even going to try a field goal again for the rest of the season? And people are like, I'd go for 2 every time now. I wouldn't even try an extra point. And now the guy is banging 45-yarders. I also think that can't be undersold enough. Like that's a huge dynamic changer for the team, but incredible.
For instance, going into half, we get the ball back. They goof up and fumble, and they give us 3 points. And I don't know, like those are the things that build so much confidence for us,
right?
Especially because like kicking field goals has been hard for us.
Wisconsin missed their field goals. Nebraska made theirs, and it kind of shaped the game in some ways. Because at halftime, you could have argued at halftime, Wisconsin went in and said the score should be 16-14, but instead it's 24-10.
Yep.
Because of their turnover and their missed field goals and Nebraska making their field goals. And so I just think you got to give a big shout out to, the Purdue game was a disaster, and he has rebounded. It feels like was it the first field goal at Ohio State? Whatever, he banged a 51-yarder, and it felt like it was just like through those uprights went all of the negativity and doubt. Like it was like everything just was. It felt like he was like, okay, I can do this, and even Rules like, okay, he can do this.
Well, it's a confidence thing. You can against the best team on the biggest stage, you can make a 50-yarder. As a field goal kicker, it's like, well, everything else from there shouldn't be
right.
As you know what I mean? So I'm sure he got a lot of confidence from that game. I think he went 3 for 3 of that game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Special teams in general, they gave up the one long kickoff return, but Barney had the long kickoff return. Carter Nelson had a nice tackle on kickoff coverage.
Bushini had a couple pins.
Yes. Like the special teams whole operation was pretty good. As well. Couple more things before we wrap this thing up. I think game balls, to me, I got 2.
How many this week, Nick? How many game balls?
Well, it does seem like in the NFL, is game balls in the NFL more of a thing? I feel like I see that, like I've always see the Lions coach, like, it's like, hey guys, got a game ball here.
That guy is a football coach, is he?
That guy He is.
No one's shocked. You coach football? But
what's amazing about he looks the part. He's also one of those guys, like he's super emotional. Like he can go from being like, testosterone alpha, all that to like, I'm so proud of you guys. Just everybody's in like, oh my God.
It's like Dick Vermeil though. Dick Vermeil, like You gotta love the guys who just like they're gonna cry.
But that's it was like that was Chuck Mazursky, our high school football coach.
Don't let him hear you say that.
But I'm saying he was all like intimidating, very masculine, very all like, hard hat, lunch pail, go to work. I'm about toughness, but like he would also he could talk himself to tears.
Yeah.
But so I bring that up to, it just seems like in the NFL, it seems like after every win in the NFL, they hand out game balls to people. Maybe that's why I thought like I wanted to hand out like multiple game balls.
Like no one will ever know how you came upon.
I don't know. I tried to hand out 7 after one game. It was the Colorado game.
That's
right. I was a little excited after that game.
I think that's right.
2 game balls. I think you can guess them. Holgorsen, Emmett Johnson.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Those 2 guys, this game was about those 2 dudes.
Yeah. Emmett Johnson, that was his career game right there.
It feels like, and we'll maybe have to now, because I got a lot of tweets yesterday, like, club open? Is the club open?
I got to think, Nick, the health inspector just sent a letter like, after further review, with all the changes that we asked for from the health department, the club shall be open.
And I walked by the Gourmet Grill yesterday and I was laughing. I laughed out loud looking at the Gourmet Grill. But Emmett Johnson being the club now, dog. We talked about we had put him in a stinky Uber. He's been in a stinky Uber with a talkative driver, and it's hot in there for months now.
An Uber could pull up to the club. We'll see.
An Uber just pulled up because you can see the U in there on the windshield. Like, it's an Uber. Who's getting out of that thing? Might be Emmett Johnson, and there's like a red carpet for him, and we're like, welcome.
Yeah.
But Holgorsen, Emmett Johnson.
Yep.
Okay, to wrap this up, rushing the field. Any hot take on it? Are you like, come on, man, don't rush the field? It's
at this point, we will take whatever we can get.
I get how from the outside looking in, you can be like, wow, geez. I mean, how embarrassing is this? You guys rush the field after your 6
about
win.
The bowl game, and it's about Wisconsin, right? Like,
yes.
Even if Wisconsin's down, even if a 6 wins is nothing, it's all us.
It was all encompassing.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of now this is a deep cut, not too deep of a cut, but I hope you've seen it. Have you seen Silver Linings Playbook?
Yeah.
Remember when Bradley Cooper and Homegirl get like a terrible score on the dance thing, but they needed to get
they needed it,
and they went crazy.
Yeah.
And everyone was kind of like, it's a terrible score. Why are you going crazy? But you didn't understand the circumstances that they were in.
De Niro's dad had the bet. He had to get that, and then the Eagles had to win. Yeah.
So it was like, to me, as I watched that, I'm like, this is the Silver Linings Playbook, where from the outside looking in, you're like, wait, you beat a 500 Wisconsin team to get to 6 wins to be bowl eligible. Why are you celebrating that much? It's like, well, you got to understand
all we needed was 6. All we needed was 6.
You needed to get to 6, and you got to 6. So yeah, I understand from the outside looking in, it's easy to rip on, but
because I think we all did this. I think if you had to ask every fan in Nebraska, you'd say, what do you think our record's going to be? Everybody said somewhere between 6 and 7 wins, 8 wins. Some people said 9 wins, whatever. It didn't matter what you said. But if you said, what do we got to do? What's the bare minimum that they have to do? And it was 6 wins. Or 8 or 9. You have to get 6 this year.
Right.
And we got 6.
And so now, you're exactly right. People could have a conversation about, I think 7, I think 8, but everybody was like, if you don't get 6, it's a bad year. They got 6. And it now will be interesting, and we'll maybe can talk more about this in the midweek pod of just like what the now what's the psyche of this team? Like on some ways, does it now for the first time in seemingly 10 years, can this team actually play like loose?
I don't know.
But you also don't want it to go too far the other way where they relax and they feel like like that was like the goal and they got it. Now they can relax, like they can exhale to the bad, like those two, like relaxing as a player can be good and bad. I wonder what that'll be like. I do got to say this. I feel like on the last pod, I was a little and I was a little hard on some of those guys that came back, Gifford, Ty, Polar Bear, those guys. But I think, everybody's frustrated. It's like, it's hard to not like when Ty's getting interviewed after on the field after the game, and you think about what those guys have been through, multiple coaches, multiple coordinators, multiple gut punch losses, multiple times laying it on the line. You know, the whole man in the arena thing, like they're out there laying it out there, and they're coming up short. It's one thing about this being a player. It's like you step out there to achieve great things. You also have to be willing to. You got to risk losing and things not going well. Those guys have that. It's hard to not feel good for those for those guys.
Yeah, it's a good thing for those guys and to celebrate those guys when they finally, get through it all to get a win and to get an achievement for the rest of the state and the program. Like they did that through their sacrifice, willing to just stick with it. I think that's important. I said to celebrate that.
Final thought. This kind of just more of like off the not really anything with the game, but kind of. So yesterday was the first home game I've been at since the 2021 Michigan game.
Yeah.
And so I went with our buddy Chris Goldie, and it's so much fun to go to the games, to take in the sights and the sounds and the look and the feel of it,
Yeah.
But I feel like after having not been at a game in a couple of years and going to a game, football is without question, to me, this isn't debatable, a sport that is just vastly superior to watch on TV than live in person.
If you really want to see what's going on.
I'd almost rather, if I'm going to go to a game, I'd almost rather not go to a Nebraska game. Like I'd rather go to a game that I'm not fully invested in it. Like because to me, the fun part of the football game is just look at this giant ass stadium, look at all these people and taking it all in.
Yeah.
But in being able to truly watch the game and get a feel for the game and all those kinds of things. I don't know where because you do a little bit of both. You go to a lot of the home games. You basically go to every home game. There maybe was one this year you didn't go to. I'm curious where I just think it's the only sport, because depending on your seats, like basketball in person is a great sport to view. Baseball is just a different kind of game in that regard. I just think I could probably make an argument that a UFC event, like a fight, is better on TV because, you go to the ground, you want the camera there to see those kinds of things. But like football's it's better to watch on TV.
I think there is, if you're trying to break it down, I mean, I get it. Like when I get to watch it, like in a way, like I get to rewind. I'm doing that all the time but it is an amazing experience being at the game, partaking in the like Coliseum,
yes,
the gladiator, it feels gladiator-ish, right? Like that part of it is amazing. That's very different than I would say any other sports. More like primal. It's the most primal sport we have in America, I would say, like in terms of like the reaction. So you get that sort of camaraderie, that thing from the in-person. But it is, I know what you're saying though. Like football is uniquely better to understand what's going on from because it's so detailed that it's just hard to see it from whatever angle
in real time. And then you look up then at the board and you try to get a replay, but it might not be the angle you want. And it's all like, don't get me wrong. It was great to be with our buddy Chris and Goldie and like take it in, but it's almost like the best part of being there is everything but the, like what happens with this play and that play and this third down and that third down. Like, I don't know. I feel like football, I think a part of there's so many reasons why football is the most popular sport in America. And I think number one, I think it's the rhythm of it. It's on the weekends. It's once a week. People can, that works well with the cadence of life. But I also think one of the reasons too, it's better. It's a better way to watch a game, in my opinion. That's just me.
I think that's probably right. But doesn't mean it's not important. Like that's right, but it doesn't mean that going to games doesn't serve its own purpose.
For sure.
Life, right?
Yes.
And that's important. But I would argue football is lacking. My beliefs. I'm a stickler for
replay.
Replay should go. They need to cut the TV timeouts down. They got to find a way to do that. And the game needs to go faster. The game needs to be more fluid. And the game needs to be, because what's the average football game length? Name whatever it is, and it should be a half an hour less every time. So
because I wonder what average. I bet it's 3.5.
Yeah, average
college football game length, 3 hours and 20 minutes.
It should be 2.5 to 3 hours max, right?
Yes.
You should never have that last 45 minutes. It should be like a 2.5 hour sport.
I do. I really agree with that. I think it's too long.
And it will be so much better than it would only
Yes.
make it better for the games to go faster. So like they just need to find a way to let the clock run more and less stoppages. All replays got to go. All the debate around what can be replayed, blah, 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 it just needs to be done because it's just sucking up too much time. And the game should be more focused on like the more time you got, just like it flowing, playing the game.
Agree with that.
It will make it better. Baseball learned the hard way. They're trying to do it now, and it's over. It's over for them. They lost their audience. The way that their audience that they had capture from 1930 to 1980, it's gone.
Yes.
And football has it all right now, and they should right now at their peak start making it even better by making it more fluid in a shorter game.
They need to shorten it, but you're right. It was great. Like yesterday, and the beauty of what football can do, and Nebraska football in particular, is it becomes the catalyst and the magnet to congregate, to come together, to see people, to be together for a common reason. Those kinds of things. Like if you eliminated Nebraska football, we talked last week about moving on from Nebraska. If you remove that, that's like I'm about to go to our an extended Bahe family Thanksgiving. Like I bet we're going to talk about the whole time is Nebraska football. And so whether it's a talking point amongst your family or a reason that your family comes together, for us, our wives, and all of us got together and had a drink, and then a lot of us went to the game. Like it still is it's a great catalyst and magnet for those things, and it's hard to put a price on that.
That's right.
It is very valuable. I just know that one of my takeaways from yesterday was like, I love being with Chris and Goldie, but I was like, it's just been a while since I've been at a game, and I was like, it's just so much better to watch it on TV if you really want to be able to
south end zone.
Yeah, so I'd never watched the game from the end zone either.
Yeah.
That also makes it hard because you sit there, a play happens, you're like, Cat, did that go for 4 or did that go for 9?
You get to see the holes, but the depth is hard to tell.
I will say, what's a blast is we had a great field goals coming at you.
Yeah,
it was a great time.
Yeah, or when they're down, coming
when they're like Heine scored, coming basically right at us. And you're like, come to Heine. Come here, Heine. I want to come on. Let me get the Heine on that. Squeeze that Heine.
Okay, Nick. The camera is on.
Whatever. You know what I mean.
I do know.
But so I thought that was interesting.
I think I
know. No, and I also forgot what it was like to like the dude. I don't have to talk to Chris since they're his tickets. Like the dude, how you kind of make friends with people.
Yeah,
like guy in front of us. It was understood like early on in the game,
five, right?
Like high fives, and like anytime Chris and I made a comment or go, like he was like, "That's right," yeah. Like he would be like, "No, that was Borkature," or like, "No, like
the chime in effect comes in." Like
the chime in effect.
We're in the same.
This guy,
group
the guy in front of us seemed like he was more like, I want to be in that. The conversation behind me is the conversation I'm more interested in than whatever I'm doing here. I did pee in a trough.
Yeah, that's always. Hey, I think it's good. It's good for the human soul. I love it.
We don't know about you. For whatever reason, you're the kind of person that's like, there's like, all right, as they're redoing the stadium, like agenda item number 14, remove all troughs and add urinals, all in favor.
I object, sir.
Why would you?
The fabric of America will die if we get rid of the trough. Let's keep it.
At least
think about it. Guys get to come in and just pee in a trough, which is kind of just great. But it also moves you through. So the girls are all
it does move.
One toilet per girl. The girls are around the block, and the guys are just like, the guys are in and out.
Unequivocally, would you rather deal with 30 seconds of, when you get older, it's like, I don't care. And who cares? But would you rather deal with 30 seconds of awkwardness stand in line for 5 minutes long?
I actually found there's not much awkwardness in there. Everybody's pretty happy to be part of the trough. And I even heard of Wisconsin. I stopped in the trough, and a Wisconsin fan has like a Ron Dane jersey on.
Yes.
It's right next to me, and he talks to his buddy, and so of course eavesdropping because we're in a trough.
Yeah.
And he says, "Oh, they still got troughs. These are great. I wish they wouldn't have got rid of it." Like,
wow.
Wisconsin used to have troughs, and they must have got rid of it.
That's why that program's going in the wrong direction.
Nick, I would argue
they got rid of the trough.
It's going all downhill from Wisconsin.
Oh my God! At least the west balcony where I would sit with my family growing up, the bad ones are the troughs, like the circle troughs, like where you're literally like in those are bad.
There's a circle trough?
I thought in the West Stadium back in the day there was like a circle one.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know.
Remember back in the day? Remember the old showers at like Lincoln Southeast? There was instead of, they finally were like put shower heads on the walls where like when you had to everybody was around a pole showering. You're like, who created that?
It's all about space.
I guess so. Good Lord. Wow. Okay. So from Holgorsen breakdowns to trough breakdowns, but yeah, it was
Nick, we go into it all here.
We break it. There's no stone unturned here. No stone unturned. So, okay, for midweek pod, clubs open.
Well, club is open for business.
I was thinking this morning. I have a couple I have four like that I really feel like are in.
I need to think deeply about it. From where we were to where we are.
It's interesting flow here. So clubs open, Iowa, Black Friday, games on Friday night. Get some turkey in us. And final game of the season, and then we'll get to figure out. I just can't wait now. You know what I haven't done in a long time is consume bowl projections.
I forgot what that. Nick,
I'm like
that was
so excited. It's exciting to consume. Like, ooh, that'd be fun. I gotta go to the bathroom. There's no line because the trough is just.
I'll join you.
A Hurrdat Sports Network production.